Hi guys! Today we're going to be filling a sketchbook spread using alcohol markers, some colored pencils, and we're going to be drawing some butterflies. If you're new here, I'm Jen and this is JynDrawz. Welcome back. I was inspired to do this sketchbook spread after I was done reading the sketchbook Joy by Katie Moody. I found some butterfly images on Unsplash for inspiration. I made a screen cap of them and I will link that down below. I'm not exactly sure where I will post the image, but I will link it down below so you can use those images for reference as well. And grab your sketchbook and join me in filling a spread with just some butterflies. I am using a Caran red blue pencil for the sketching. Thought that would be fun since I was going to do two red colored butterflies and two blue colored butterflies, and this was perfect to be the under sketch for the laying of the alcohol marker on top of. I am drawing 4 butterflies to fill this page. I was thinking about doing a background, but I decided to not do that because the butterflies turned out really well and I didn't want to dilute them or end up doing something that I regretted, so I've left the background just the color of the page and just filled it in with some butterflies. They are not real butterflies, they are just butterflies that I made up, and I was inspired by the images I found on Unsplash. So they're not exact copies of those images, but just more inspired by those butterflies. I also just used that simple 12-piece Pablo pencil set from Caran. The sketchbook I'm using is by Art Creations, and I used probably about 12 Copic markers. And the Copic markers there you see on screen, they are from 5 different sets of 6 packs of Copic markers. So you don't even need to buy a whole big box of them. You can I will link down the 2 sets that I used plus the neutral grays that I used for adding the shadows and the blacks. Well, they're not really black because it was neutral gray that I used, which was really fun. It looks almost black on the page, but it's really a neutral gray color. So that was really fun to play around with. I think the 2 sets that I used were like probably the basic primary colors, and I think some from a pastel set or the secondary primary colors. But I will link down the colors, what I used, below. I really used very few markers and I just layered them over to create new colors. And here we go with the first coloring. I used, I forgot to put in that protective sleeve behind. I didn't want it to bleed down on the next page since I was going to be layering a lot of ink and marker onto the page. I knew it would bleed through onto the next page if I didn't have that plastic sleeve in between the pages. So first I laid down that yellow golden color, and then I did a darker orange color over the top. And then I go over it with a pinkish red and then with the red color. And that gets you a really nice blend and fade into the pinks, reds, and oranges and yellows. Since that first butterfly was very colorful with reds, orange, golden colors, I thought it'd be fun to try and mimic that using the markers that I had. And these are the markers that I took when I went on my mini vacation. I took just this small set plus the neutral grays and then that 12 pack of Caran pencils. I wanted to pack light because I knew if I took more I would end up probably using either none of it or I'd only use one thing in the first place. So I said, okay, what's most important to me? I want to take my Copics and I want to take those Pablo pencils. Those I've been having a lot of fun with together, And I said, you know what, I'm just going to take that and just this Art Creations notebook, sketchbook, and I'm going to just create art in it. And I did do a butterfly based off of the butterflies that Katie had done in her book, and that was a lot of fun. She uses Neo colors in the book mostly, and watercolors and things like that, but I'm very much having a lot of fun with markers lately, so I wanted to do my butterflies in markers. So that's what I wanted to show you guys here, and I'm really happy with how all of them turned out. It was really a lot of fun creating every one of these, thinking about, okay, I don't have this color, how am I gonna, you know, make it similar to that color? So then I did a lot of experimenting by laying colors over one another, seeing what would happen, and it was really fun, especially using those neutral grays over the colors, because I was actually able to create a brown color, and that was really fun. I didn't think I was going to be able to, since I had mostly bright colors, but on the third butterfly, the second red butterfly, I was able to actually create a brown for the center for the body of it, which you will see later on in the video. That was a lot of fun. So then again, it's a lot of experimenting, laying over colors, really flooding the page, doing a light base color, and then going over it with darker colors and just blending it out. And this sketchbook from Art Creations, it works really well with markers. It's like one of the best, cheapest books I've found to be able to do marker art in. And yes, it does bleed through on the next page. And on the back side of the pages, what I've been doing is I've been using paint markers, because then you can like totally coat to the page and not ruin the marker art that's on the other side, yet you can make another illustration using paint markers on the opposite side of this page where it's going to bleed through and everything. So that's really fun that you can do that, and you can use both sides of the pages and still create artworks on both sides. When I was creating the artwork, I was wondering if I wanted to leave the yellowness of the page the cream color and call that the whites of the page, but I did decide that I was going to use a white gel pen and the white colored pencil to make the actual white parts of the butterfly. I thought that would be a lot nicer than trying to leave the cream color of the page in between all those dots and calling that the white parts of the butterfly. This one I think is my absolute favorite of all four of them, because in the end I was able to create a real 3D effect with it, I think, with just using just a couple blues and those neutral grays, a little bit of white pencil, a little bit of blue pencil, and this one I love the most out of all of them. But of course I'm partial to blue, so that one makes this one extra special for me because I really love blue. Blue, black, white, silver, those are my favorite colors. I don't care what anybody says, black and white are a color and they are my favorite colors. As you can see, I'm layering down that light blue, and it does look really blotchy and everything, but then when I flick over the darker blue, it just all melds together and you don't see any blotchiness. It's really wonderful. I love this paper. It works really well with markers. So if you can get the Art Creations sketchbooks locally or on Amazon, they're usually fairly cheap. I know in Europe they're really cheap. I'm not sure about prices elsewhere, but I know in Europe you can get them fairly cheap. They're usually in just about every single art shop you can find. Now I'm working on that second red orange butterfly, or the third butterfly, however you want to look at it. And as you might have seen in the example butterflies, one was very much just like a brown butterfly, but I liked how on the wings it had like these blue looking eyes on it, but I didn't want a brown butterfly on my page, or maybe it's a moth even, I'm not even sure. So I changed up the colors a bit and I made it more orange and reds and blues and made it a bit more of a fantasy butterfly, adding in different colors and different color schemes. And this one I deviated the most from all the butterflies. Well, no, that's not true, because the last blue butterfly, that one wasn't even blue in the first place. It was orange and light yellow. So that one I totally changed colors from orange and reds to a blue butterfly with black. But when you're in your sketchbook, I feel like you can do whatever you want. If you want to change the color from one color to another, that's fine. If you want to change the look and have it be totally different and you just want to experiment, go for it. You should absolutely do it. That's what a sketchbook is for. It's for playing, having fun, and just using your art supplies and creating art. I know a lot of people would say, oh, you're using Copic markers in such a cheap sketchbook, but I don't care. I got them. I'm having fun with them. I'm using them. I'm not letting them sit and dry out, and then that would be a real waste and a real shame. Also, I want to thank my Patreon members as you see them scroll by on the screen. Thank you guys. You guys make this all possible. I want to thank you for keeping on supporting me and helping me get to this goal of mine achieved and becoming an art YouTuber. Thank you guys. Thank you, thank you. If you also want to support me and help me achieve my goal of becoming an art YouTuber, you can go ahead and check down below. I'll have a link to my Patreon, and you can sign up for free even over there. I have things that I release and talk about over there that I don't do on YouTube. There's also a small donation that you can do if you want to support me per month. That is the Mealy Diamonds tier now. I've renamed it. Oh, I'm going to name all my tiers after types of diamonds and settings like that. So I've renamed it from Tip Jar to Mealy Diamonds. So I hope to see you over there. Remember, you can join for free over there, or you can do a paid monthly subscription. Here you see I'm adding in the blue to make those blue eyes, and I did it with 2 different colors of blue, and I thought that would be fun to go and do something totally different and make it my own type of butterfly / moth. I then add some more blue to get that to blend and fade. It looks like a hot mess right now, but once I go in with the neutral grays and I go in with the colored pencils, it cleans up really nicely. It turns out really awesome. I'm also a fan of it. It was really fun to really take what was a brown moth, brown butterfly, and create it into something that's orange and red and blue and fit with the other butterflies that are on this page, that are in this spread. And I specifically wanted one of the butterflies to be in the crack of the page, so it looks like it's holding onto the center there, and like it would be on a flower or something like that. Thought that'd be really neat to do. Here I am blending the 3 blue / aqua colors together. It looks really harsh right now, but again, once you layer over another blue and you blend them together, it comes out really neat. And I'm looking at the artwork now, and I think it's even blended even more a day later, which is really fun to see how much it blends and how it keeps on just smoothing out, and you don't see those marker lines anymore into the paper. It's really neat. That's the one thing I really love about markers, is just how it just keeps blending into one another and just keeps becoming smoother and smoother as you keep using them. And here I am starting with the neutral grays. I've never used the neutral grays before, so I was a bit timid and a bit hesitant on how much to put down and how much to use. So I started with the lightest one. I figured, okay, I'll start with the lightest one that I wanted to use. That way, if it goes horribly wrong, I know it'll dry really, really light and I won't mess up anything terribly. And then I moved on to the second lightest color that I was using. There was an N2 and an N0 that I did not use. I used the 2, 4, 6, I believe, and 8. And I didn't use the 0 or the N0 as well, because those were really light, and I thought there was no point in doing that over these colorful butterflies. You just wouldn't see it at all. So I chose the darker colors out of that set. And then I went in and I thought, okay, it's time to be brave. Let's go for the second to darkest one, the N6. And that really helped those colors pop even more. And I'm really glad that I was brave and said, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try it. And it's all going to work out. And it absolutely did. And even if it didn't work out, it would have been a learning experiment. So there's no loss there. And I like how that I was afraid that the light gray that I had done was going to be too dark, but as I said, it keeps drying, it gets lighter and lighter as you go, and the more darker colors you put up against it, the lighter it appears, which is really neat and really helpful. And here I'm adding some more like veins and outlining and just giving the butterfly a bit more dimension, a bit more contrast. That helps pull out the reds and the oranges and the yellows and gives it a lot more pop on the page. I then looked at my reference image that I was using for this one, and I was like, oh, there is a bit more black on this butterfly than what I have currently. So I thought, you know what, I'll add some more of this dark neutral gray to it and give it a bit more of a pop and a bit more bling to it. I think it really brought the butterfly to life by adding those darker pieces and filling it in a bit more. It really added more to the butterfly. Otherwise, I was thinking it was looking a little lifeless on the page. And especially since the one that I was referencing was very much blacks, orange, reds, and yellows. It had a bit more pop than I had currently. So adding that black, and then later in when I go in with the white pencil, it really pops off the page later on. I was adding some shadows, adding some giving it some depth, trying to give it like it was flying in the air and it was casting a shadow onto the page. For this one, it was very simple. I just took the darkest of those neutral grays and filled in the outline of the butterfly and the body of the butterfly. And then later on, I come in with a white gel pen and that white pencil to add the dots that are around the wings, as seen in my example image. So this one was like the simplest of all the butterflies to do, yet I think it turned out the best out of all of them. On this one, I was also varying the width of the black, having it thicker in some spots, thinner in other spots, just to give a bit more of that curve to where you would not see some of it and where you would see more of it. I really love the contrast of that aqua, like sea, sky, I don't know what color to call it, a blue that I created, in contrast with this really dark neutral gray color that is almost looking black compared to it. It gives a real nice contrast to the page and to the rest of the butterflies that are on the page. It really brings out the rest of them because there is such high contrast. And here I go in with that neutral gray, and since I had done already the other two, I was feeling a lot more brave, and I went in with the darkest of the neutral grays rather than starting with the lighter one. I find that you should build up confidence when working with markers. You know, you try a little bit and then you get really brave and then you go in with the dark stuff. Later you feel like, okay, it's all going to work out and it's not going to be a problem. But there's always that hesitation when you first start. You're like, oh, it's so dark, it's going to be a problem. It's not going to work out, it's not going to look good. I've wasted all this time. I drew these butterflies and I got one done and it looked really great, and now I've ruined the other ones. But you know, you just take your time, you build up your confidence, you start with the lighter one if you're afraid you're going to do something wrong, and then you can say, okay, I'm confident, let's go for the darker one. You need to try the second one up, and then you can do the third darkest one, and then the fourth darkest one. You see how it all is going to be fine, and then by the time you're working on that last butterfly, you're going to feel really confident, and you're just going to go in with the darkest color right away and not worry about it at all. The original butterfly for this one had a bit more like stripes on it, and I decided I was going to do dots instead, just to again further differentiate it from what I had for the original image. And then, oh no, I forgot the plastic sleeve again. But it was okay because now I wasn't really layering a lot of marker. I was just doing a little bit of outlining and adding some dots, so it didn't bleed through enough to bleed through onto the second page, which was really good. That's the thing with markers. You always have to remember to do that plastic in between the pages, or you're going to have a lot of bleed through, and then a lot of pages you're going to have to work around on because of that. Here I am layering over a neutral gray. I believe that was 6, and then I went over it with neutral gray 4. And as you can see, that bright orange has been really just muted down, and it's just wonderful caramel brown, and it has like texture, and because I did the swiping and those strokes left and right, and really looks, that part looks almost like in the example image, which was really fun to create that and be able to do that. And for the last butterfly, the body had a bit of a like ring look to it as well, where you had like these bits of light whitish light gray color shining through the black body. So I wanted to recreate that, and since that worked out so well on that previous butterfly, I thought, okay, I'll do the lighter gray. I'll let that dry a little bit while I'm filling in the wings, because if you do a lighter color underneath and then you do a darker color over it, the dark one isn't as dark as if you just do just the dark one. So then you get a bit of the other marker showing a bit through. As you can see there, I created those rings, and then I filled the body in, and then I did the legs. And now if you compare that blackness that I'm doing on this last butterfly to that second butterfly, you see that the second one is almost like a charcoal gray, while the other one looks almost black, because I didn't do a base layer of the lighter gray. I did just the darkest of those neutral grays, and that's why it looks different, and how you can achieve then a more richer, darker gray versus something that is a bit more lighter and airy. I then went over it again after that first layer dried so that I could darken it up in some places, not everywhere, just so that it would still appear a little bit light and airy and a bit like a wing that is a bit translucent. I then added some veins, I guess they are through wings, I'm not sure, I'm guessing that's what they would be called, so that again it looks like a bit of a butterfly wing. And it looks pretty harsh right now, but once it dried, it was a lot softer and there's a lot more fluid, and it looks very much like veins through the wings, and it's really translucent. Time for some of those Pablo Colored Pencils. I barely used anything, and I just have this simple 12-piece set for this artwork. I just wanted to soften those blends a little bit more, add a bit more of a punch to it with the orange and the red. I used a little bit of the yellow pencil just to blend it out, sharpen any edges, and give it a bit more pop. Really did not need much to get a bit more softer, cohesive blend. As you see, it doesn't take much for supplies to create a nice spread in your sketchbook. As you saw, I barely used any markers and just this simple 12-piece of colored pencils. It doesn't even have to be Pablo's. It can be any kind of colored pencils. You don't need many, just a couple here and there, a couple colors. These are just like basic colors even. So you can see what range in which you can all create with just a few supplies. And now for the blue butterfly, I just wanted that crevice where the wings touch the body to be a little darker, to give it a little bit more of that 3D effect. I wanted a little bit more of the veins through the wings. Just lightly glazing over the page, hardly even touching. It really took nothing to get that down. I would like to say, if you guys are liking this video and you want to see more of what I create, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. I would also like to hear in the comments from you what you thought of this video so far, which butterfly is your favorite, did I help you with anything, did you learn anything, do you have any questions about markers or the paper or the colored pencils I'm using. Please just pop a comment down below and I will get back to you and let you know. Or maybe somebody else in the comments will be able to help you with any questions you might have. I did use a little bit of a brown pencil just to go along the edge to again give that body a bit more of a 3D effect by adding depth to it. Adding some more to the veins and the butterfly, sharpening it, giving it a bit more of that double look that the veins sometimes have, giving a bit of a shadow so you can see that one wing is overlapping the other. I did also use the black pencil to give a bit more depth, fill in the legs, draw in the antenna, sharpen the lines to give those wings a bit more crispness to them. I think all in, this sketchbook spread took me about an hour and a half to do, which isn't too bad. I think that was pretty quick for filling this whole spread here. Now I'm putting in the white, giving a bit of shine and adding the dots to it, filling in those spots that I had left a bit of the paper showing through, but I did do a bit of that neutral gray over it. But then when I added the white pencil, you see that they look very white in comparison to the cream color of the page, which I think also adds some nice contrast from the butterflies from the page. The other one, I didn't want to do too much white to it because I thought it was already pretty busy as is, and I didn't want to add too much to that one, so I kept it pretty simple. And this one was probably the most time consuming for doing the white because I had to do all those little dots all the way around. Trying to not do an exact pattern, trying to make it look like lace like it was in the reference photo. So I'm doing little dots all around, and then I do go over it on the body and a little bit of shine to the wings. As you see, I'm barely just grazing that pencil over the paper, and here I'm really just filling in those white spots to give them a bit more contrast, make them whiter. Pushing down a little bit harder here so that I can get more of a contrast and a really bright white. Now it's time for a little bit of gel pen. I wanted that eye to really pop. I added some white to the body to give it a bit of a glossiness. Added some white to the gel pen to those dots. And then I added some white dots on top of the white pencil, but not every single one, just randomly, and I also added just some white dots with the gel pen. I smeared some out just to give a little bit of a shine to the wings. It doesn't show too much, but it's just a little something, something. Again, just adding some white dots so that since I did it on one spot, I did it in another place on the page, just to give, again, cohesion to the whole image as a collection of butterflies together. And again, a couple on the other moth butterfly, and not too much. Again, smearing some out just to give a bit of shine, a bit of translucency. And we're almost done. I did go around and add a real light shadow with the gray pencil, just so they have a bit of a 3D effect off the page. It's really difficult to see in the video, and on real life you can actually see it a lot better. They do look a little more 3D and a little more like they're popping off the page. I was thinking about going back in around with maybe one of those neutral grays to give a bit more of a wider shadow to the butterflies, but I'm not exactly sure just yet. First, I'm going to scan this in so that I have it saved as is, and then I might tinker with it either digitally or with markers on the page to give it a bit more of a pop and a bit more of a shadow. So here we go. All of them are completed. What do you guys think? Which one is your favorite? I guess we'll go clockwise, starting with the blue one. 1, 2, 3, or 4. And if you've made it this far into the video, why don't you leave a butterfly in the comments down below to let me know you made it all the way to the end. And I thank you for watching all the way to the end. I look forward to your comments, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, if you like this kind of videos, please do like, share, comment, hit the bell. I want to see more of you watching these videos and commenting down below. I really enjoy the interaction with everyone and sharing my art journey with you. And until the next time, guys, bye!